familiar face to the industry, Jim Croxton, you're CEO of BIGGA, most people would know that. Right in the middle of your big event of the year, a landmark event for you guys as well, because you're making some changes for next year. Can we just ask, firstly, why have you decided to make the changes that you're announcing here at the show?
Certainly, a familiar face. That makes it sound like I might have been here too long. I hope that's not the case. We are making some changes for 2019. They're changing for good reasons, and we have two main purposes to that. One is we've not been able to fit in all the exhibitors that wanted to exhibit this year, and that's a concern, not just commercially, although the revenue is obviously important, but if companies want to be part of the event that we're putting on, we'd like to try and find a way to do that. Secondly, the experience for the visitor this year, because the halls are so full of exhibitors, isn't quite what we want it to be. And it's really stopped us being able to do some of the innovations we want to do. So there's not enough simple things, seating, catering, to give it a comfortable experience. But a number of things we want to do, not just in terms of the overall visitor experience, we want to put some new product areas in the halls, we want to be able to have some attractions, to put things around the halls which keep people involved. But our own stand, for example, is way smaller than we would like. We want to be able to do much more for our members, who make up around about half the visitor profile. We haven't been able to get all of our services onto our stand, that kind of thing. So we've looked at the facilities. We're staying in Harrogate. Harrogate's critical to currently our show. It's a huge part of it. We're using the facilities differently. We're opening up 3 new halls and closing down 2 of the ones we've used for the last few years. We're changing the main entrance from one end of the building to the other, which will be very different for the visitor. We'll give a different experience, one that we hope they'll embrace. We think they'll embrace. It'll make them a more proactive visitor, because they won't be going past the same old stands they've seen for 30 years. This is our 30th show in Harrogate.
Wow,
so,
okay.
And some of those companies, I'm not kidding, have been in the same spot for 30 years. And people are nervous of change. There's no doubt. I'm nervous of change. This is a reasonably change. I wouldn't call it a gamble, but we know it's going to be a challenge for us. It's going to take a number of months to get where we think we need to be with our exhibitor base. We're convinced that we're going to offer a better experience for the visitor. If we do that, we think the exhibitor gets a better experience, because they have their customer with them longer and in a better mood. However, people have got stands that they've bought, people have got used to exhibiting in a certain way, and we're going to be asking them to make some changes. And it will be a big effort, I think, and I think we're going to need a little bit of trust and faith from some of those very loyal customers that, look, we've delivered year on year, we've improved the show year on year, our education numbers going up year on year, better visitors in town year on year. We can keep doing this, but we need your help in that.
You've got a number of logistical challenges as well as the kind of historical challenges of people. I think it's well known, if you know the show, Hall M, 4 big players in there, that's a real draw.
Yep.
I think as an organiser you'd probably like to mix those people up around the show, but you've got different halls with different ceiling heights, different access. That's going to be, I think, the biggest challenge you've got.
Yeah, I think you're right. We would really like to create a show where there are anchor stands in each of the halls to create a destination in each of the hall. We can use those anchor stands as part of our branding. Come this way to the next stand where you'll find, next hall where you'll find A, B or C or D. Currently 3 of the 4 largest stands all exhibit in quite a tall, sort of extravagant way, quite an expensive way actually, but that's their choice.
Sure.
And I think we're going to be asking 1 or 2 of those to do so differently, but we believe we'll give them a space where they'll get great engagement with their customers. There's some mixed views on whether the guys all like being together in the same hall. It certainly creates an odd flow in the exhibition. We get a gang in there for a long time and then it empties. When everyone's done the 3 or 4 big stands, they go off and they're very, very quiet. Some of the customers aren't too keen on sort of walking onto one stand and then going directly onto the competitor and asking the same questions. But it's an exhibition, everyone is doing that. We think we can spread it around better. The access is an important one you make. Our show is the most impactful to Harrogate, most money spent in Harrogate in terms of restaurants, hotels, etc. But it's by no means the biggest show. There are half a dozen shows a year that take up more space. There are shows that have bigger equipment than we do. They use the halls we're going to use. They have no problem at all with access. It needs clever management, but they have no problem. The issue is height. Instead of being 4 metres high plus, which some of our halls are currently, they're down to 2.9, which is a lower height than some exhibitors are used to.
So they've made investments in some of them stands that they want to reuse, so that's a challenge for them. But it also gives people opportunities, and I think perhaps people should investigate and be positive about things like this. From the visitor's point of view, and any trade show or any event thrives on its visitors, because that's why your exhibitors are here and your sponsors are here. Hopefully it'll have a positive impact for them. Big part of it is education.
Yeah.
Is it going to have any difference or impact on what you do with the education platform that you have?
Yeah, it is. It is actually. We're going to move the focus of some of our larger events into the purpose-built auditorium that's here at the Harrogate Convention Centre. 2,000-seater, fabulous room. We love the Royal Hall, where we've held a couple of things the last couple of days, but it's not as easy a space to use. The auditorium is fantastic. Using the entrance that we use, it connects our education space very closely to the Crowne Plaza Hotel. Okay. They've got 6 education rooms which we're going to use, and they're bigger, a bit more space for some of our focus on sessions. It'll allow us to make our seminar rooms bigger, because we've absolutely maxed those out. This week we had 1,330 seats available in seminars, and we got rid of 1,320, and those were taken up as roll-ups, so we were as full as we could be, and we think we can just grow those a little bit. I always say the education is the sort of the engine of the show. It's what drives it along, because the quality of visitor that brings in, and they stay a long time. They're here for 2 or 3 days because they're engaged in education. So that's great engagement for the visitors. So we want to try and improve that. And the new layout actually puts the education right at the heart of the show. It means we can come in and out of the education much quicker, rather than having quite a long way away to the various halls that we use.
And I assume there's been consultation before making this decision with key exhibitors, and I guess your membership stroke, your board obviously would have been involved heavily in the decision. Yeah. How's that kind of research and consultation taken place?
We gave a lot of consideration to how we dealt with the exhibitor base, and in the end we felt it was difficult to consult with them in a way that wouldn't bias against a certain type of exhibitor.
Right, okay.
We have 150 exhibitors. I know other shows have tried consultation on change, and there's always a feeling those that were consulted got the best stance, and those that weren't. We weren't ignoring them by any means. We're pretty sensitive to our customers. We spend a lot of time with them. Our board, our staff, the people here at the Harrogate Convention Centre, and all of our contractors who do a lot of work here, were heavily involved in talking about traffic flow, talking about access, talking about all the things, the logistics to the show. Yeah. I'm nervous that makes it sound like we've said to our exhibitors, take it or leave it, and that isn't the case. Okay. But the consultation really starts now. In fact, it started yesterday, because we're getting lots and lots of feedback. Nervous feedback to start.
I imagine you would be.
We believe we can work with them to try and find those solutions out.
You know, it's one of, if not the conversation topic around the show when I'm talking.
I always think that's a
people.
shame that next year is talked about this year.
Yeah.
But to be honest, it's been talked about not so much exhibitor to visitor. It's kind of exhibitor to exhibitor, exhibitor to us. I don't mind those conversations being on that. It isn't the sort of thing. Go back to when Soltex moved from Windsor to NEC. The last edition at Windsor, everyone just talked about the move, and I don't think a lot of business was done. They've done a great job with the new NEC, and that it's no longer a topic of conversation, and we think we can do the same.
So you mentioned Soltex, and you kind of preempted my next question. They've done a great job there. You know, it's a superb show. Inevitably, the two shows are compared to one another. How much has what they've done caused you to think about what you're doing?
Not really at all. I think their success and our success are a little bit, I think I might be making up the word synergistic there. I think there's an element of the fact that both shows have been in growth over the last 3 years, and both shows have been very, very positive. Sure. And that has created that sort of willingness for exhibitors to come back to shows. I've had one conversation this week about when are we talking about a single show. When I started 6-7 years ago, everyone was talking about that conversation. Soltex works, our event clearly works, but I have to say it definitely keeps you on your toes. And I make no bones about it. When I wander around their show, I have a look and think, oh, that's good. Yeah, we might have a look at that. But I don't think their success has kind of caused our change, if you like.
Okay. How much do you look at overseas shows? Maybe, you know, the golf industry show would be the nearest to you guys, and maybe the STMA show. Do you look at those and think about how they've done things, and that influences you? Yeah,
interestingly enough, the GIS show, which we attend every year, they move city every year. So they start with a new map every single year. Their conference centres are pretty homogenous, but they start with a completely new map, and every year the exhibitors have to go, right, do you know what, we want to do this year, we want this much space, we've got a new launch, we want a bit more space, whatever. And it's a really good experience for exhibitors to really think, what do I do next year? And that's kind of, we've had a lot of positive feedback from guys saying that's great, we can really think about how we make the show work for us. But those key exhibitors who are strong committers to us with big stands, their views are still very important. Yeah. Okay. I haven't been to STMA, but it's one I'd like to go to.
Okay.